Hello and welcome to part two of chapter one, section two. You just finished, hopefully, filling out your notes that look something like this. And we're going to now look at some examples and hopefully make sure when we're done here you have a good rounded understanding of what you should know for chapter one, section two. Well, the first part of the examples says to write a numerical expression for each of the verbal phrase. All right, well, let's look back here, and we had numerical expression in our notes right there. It's a combination of numbers and operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So we're going to do that here where the example on number one says, well, tell me a numerical expression for the cost of 6 electronic hand games if each costs $8. Okay, so it's saying you want to buy 6 electronic hand games and they're $8 each, so the expression to evaluate the cost would be 6 times 8. See, they asked you for the cost right there. So what would be the total cost if you bought 6 for 8? Well, the reason I'm going to stop here is because the question asked me for a numerical expression. It did not ask me to evaluate. So it didn't ask me to go ahead and find out what 6 times 8 is, which I could do that, but that's not what this is asking for. It says just tell me the expression. There it is. Let's look at number 2. We'll do the same thing. It says, well, tell me the cost of 1 box of cereal if 4, okay, cost 12. Okay, well, it's telling me I know I could buy 12 I know I could buy 4 boxes for $12. So the cost of one, if I take that 12 and I divide it by 4, okay, if I regroup that 12 into 4 groups, I would have the cost for each one. So that is the expression, 12 divided by 4. Now, I prefer that you write division like that. This right here, 12 divided by 4, because I really want you to start to make the connection that a fraction is division. Okay, so there's your, again, numerical expression. So that's 1 and 2, what they're trying to reinforce there from our notes. And then as we go down to 3, I'm not sure we'll have time to do all of the examples here, and if you're wondering where I got these samples from, they are on page 8 in your book. I'm not even sure if you have your book yet, but if you do, you can. That's where I'm getting them from. But I'm going to work them out with you right here. So this is asking you to evaluate. So they want you to turn this into one number. If you look back in your notes, right here, we're going to turn that into one number like I did with that 5, and we're going to make sure that we use the order of operations. Okay, well, let's look at number 3. It says 18 plus 2 times 4. Well, the order of operations says that we multiply before we add. So we would go 2 times 4 is 8 plus 18. And then we would take 18 plus 8 and say that's 26. Now, I'm going to stop here. I want to see this in your notes exactly like this. Down the page, use those little arrows like I did, and show your work like that. This is so important in algebra that you learn to organize your work working downhill, down the paper. Please, that is an expectation, and trust me, as you get into algebra, if you develop that habit now, your stress, comfort, and success will be much, much better than if you insist on working across the page. We don't do that anymore. We work down the page. This arrow here shows me where this 8 came from. You went 2 times 4. Let's look at number 4. All right, I have multiplication and I have division. So which comes first? Multiplication, because it's on the left. You have multiplication and division. You do the left first. 2 times 9, 18. Divide that by 3. 18 divide 3, 6. Again, that should be in your notes exactly like I have it written on my paper. Let's look at number 5. And again, if I'm going fast for you, you would be stopping the video at home and making sure you get everything down, because I have to keep going so that I can stay within the 10-minute mark. 6 times 4 here, or 4 times 6, which is the same thing as 6 times 4, it's 24, plus 9, because I multiply first. And then 24 plus 9 is 33. We just stay with the order. I'm going to skip number 6 for the sake of time. If you want to try that on your own and show it to me, you can. I want to get down here to some of the trickier problems. And then we have a couple at the end we have to make sure we get to here. So number 7, let's take a look at that. Here you've got all kinds of things happening. You've got this bracket, which is like a group symbol, so that's kind of like a parentheses. And then you have a parentheses in here, but notice inside that parentheses is just a 2. So this parenthesis here means multiply. So the first thing that we're going to do is that 6 times 2, which is 12. This minus 3 is just going to come down. Please write it down just like I'm writing down underneath. Whoops, I made a little mistake right there. I started to write 13 for some reason. That's minus 3. Now the bracket is still here also, so you have to write that down and keep track of that. This 4 is still here, so he's got to go there. Now that 4 up front, just in case you're not sure, that means times because it's just touching a parentheses. Now you have this parenthesis, 12 minus 3, we'll work that out, that's 9. Now basically this parenthesis is just the number 9, or that bracket, you can write it either way. That 4 means times 4, so that's 36. All right, so you have to follow your order exactly correct. All right, going back to those rules of PEMDAS that we learned in the last set of notes. PEMDAS, that way. All right, let's go on. We'll try number 8 here, though I'm going to be pressed for time. Might have to make a third video, we'll see. 20 minus 7 is the first thing we're going to do here because notice you've got a grouping symbol there, you've got a grouping symbol there. So 20 minus 7, we will work that out to be 13 plus that 1 right there. Now you've still got this bracket that you have to keep track of. This parenthesis here is gone because you just turned that into 13. But this 3, don't forget about him. That 3 is still there. You have 3 times that there. So we go ahead, 13 plus 1, that's 14. And 14 times 3 is now what we have to work out. And that works out to be 42. So there you've got it. I'll tell you what I'll do number 9 here, and then I'll leave number 10 for you to try. When you see something like this in number 9, what you have to do is you have to evaluate the top, and you have to evaluate the bottom before you do this division. So if I evaluate this 15 minus 5, that's 10. And the 6 minus 4 is 2. So what you have here is 10 divided by 2, which is 5. So there you go. That's 1 through 10. Now, before I get into number 11, I think I'm going to just stop it here and make a third video. It won't be very long, but I'm just afraid I might go a little bit long to pass the 10-minute mark. Why don't you try number 10 on your own, and then make sure you watch this third part here in a few minutes.